Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is story-based automation using free tools. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Paul Gerrard, Principal, Unicom Gerrard Testing. Paul has 30 years experience as a consultant, teacher, author, webmaster, programmer, tester, conference speaker, a rowing coach, and a publisher. He has conducted consulting assignments in all aspects of software testing and QA, specializing in test strategy, assurance, and automation. In 2010, he won the Eurostar European Testing Excellence Award. Paul would be there in India in July 2013. He is a speaker at the World Conference Next Generation Testing. So all of you who would be in Bangalore at that time can surely go and meet him. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Mahini. I think can you tell me if there's any problem with my screen? I think I'm ready to go now. Okay, so here I am. I'm here to talk about some technology that we've been working on for about two and a half years now, and how we can use our product, Business Story Manager, and a subset of the functionality, what we've called Story Platform for QA, to manage requirements and stories and scenarios in an agile way, and to hand over those scenarios to a software product called Robot Framework, which is an open source test automation framework, and in particular to drive websites using the Selenium, now known as WebDriver kind of library, if you like. Everything I'm talking about is summarized in the Business Story Pocketbook, which Susan Windsor and myself wrote about a year ago now, which you can download. If you follow the links to the websites, you can actually get a copy of the Pocketbook as a PDF for free. No problem. So, okay, so that's the summary. Let me just... oops. There we go. Right. Let me just walk through what I want to talk about for the next half an hour or so. In summary, behavior-driven development is an approach to software development and design and development which is becoming more and more popular in the Agile community, certainly, but is also beginning to emerge as an opportunity for more structured and what you might know as waterfall products. It's not quite such an easy fit, but behavior-driven development is a way of taking the test-driven approach for developers and making it more business, user, value-oriented, so that stories captured with stakeholders, users, if you like, can be used because they are in a structured format. They can be used to drive test automation and thereby introduce the developers into their test-driven approach in quite a slick and elegant way. Now, I'm not going to talk about in great detail about behavior-driven development. I will summarize it in the next slide or so, but the benefits to developers are great in that it gives them a much cleaner interface with businesses in terms of developing software to deliver features and functionality required by end users, but in using the mechanism of stories to drive that process. So for developers, it's great. Now, it's interesting that although the focus of behavior-driven development has in the past been on the test automation side, and I'm going to talk about that obviously shortly, the people who promote behavior-driven development are now talking more and more about the collaboration between stakeholders, business analysts, testers, developers, in order to define the stories themselves. So I think what you'll hear more and more is behavior-driven development moving up the kind of life cycle towards requirements and analysis. Now, right now, the software products that support behavior-driven development they're kind of developer-focused. In effect, they provide the connection between stories and test automation code, but because the developers kind of own that process, that transformation, the stories tend to be managed by the developers themselves. So the tools are developer-focused. The approach to date has been rather too developer-focused, and because they are geared towards driving development through stories, every story is kind of an independent piece of work, if you like. So the tools aren't really yet designed to handle larger numbers of stories to larger requirement spaces, and they're also very atomic. So the stories themselves are all kind of equivalent, and I've heard tales of teams running projects with hundreds or even thousands of stories, all in independent text files in a single directory. So that's an extreme case, but it's clear that the tools are now popular enough to have momentum and to be implemented out there, but they haven't evolved as quickly as perhaps the thinking has. So the tools themselves don't support the collaborative working that actually behavior-driven development is really all about. So what I want to talk about today really is not to undermine BDD, but rather to say we can support that approach. And as often as not, you can hear people talk about acceptance test-driven development as well as behavior-driven development. We tend to sort of talk more likely about acceptance-driven. That is, it's the acceptance criteria or the scenarios associated with stories that actually drive the development and then subsequent test process. So today I want to talk about our product Story Platform for QA, which is a subset of Business Story Manager. Story Platform for QA is a free service we're making available on the internet, and how that connects with Robot Framework to implement an acceptance-driven approach. Just for your reference, if you're not so familiar with behavior-driven development, there's a couple of links here. Our Wikipedia, if you do a search there, there's a good list of links to further information from there. Also, I'm going to talk briefly about requirements and test hierarchies when I look further into the tools themselves. And businessstorymanager.com is the website for the overall product, and there are some videos there which will explain